You know that feeling when you're lying in bed at night staring at the ceiling and your mind refuses to stop? Every possible scenario plays out like an endless movie reel. What if I choose this and regret it? What if I choose that and it turns out worse? What if I do nothing at all and that ends up being the biggest mistake? You think about it and think about it and then think about it again. And the strange thing is, the more you think, the more unclear it becomes. The options blur, your heart grows heavy, and even the simplest choices feel like mountains to climb. You wake up tired, not because your body didn't rest, but because your mind never stopped working. You've been carrying every single decision on your own shoulders, and the truth is, it's exhausting. Perhaps right now you're facing something that feels too big to decide. Maybe it's a career choice that could change your life. Maybe it's about relationships, whether to hold on or to let go. Maybe it's a financial risk, an opportunity you're not sure will work out. Or maybe it's something quieter, something smaller, but to you it still feels massive. And in that moment you start overthinking every step, replaying every possibility like a game of chess. You try to calculate every move ahead because you're afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of getting it wrong. You're afraid of hurting yourself or someone else. You tell yourself, if I just think about it long enough, I'll find the perfect answer. But deep down, you already know there is no perfect answer. There never was. The weight of carrying every decision alone is that you not only become your own judge and advisor, but also your own critic, your own worst enemy. You start to mistrust yourself, not because you're incapable, but because you've put the pressure of perfection on your back. And perfection is heavy. You weren't designed to predict the future in detail. You weren't meant to carry the burden of knowing exactly how every choice will play out. Yet here you are, holding that weight as if the entire outcome of your life depends solely on your ability to think it through. The more you try to control every detail, the more life feels uncontrollable. The more you overanalyze, the more trapped you feel. Sometimes it's not even the decision itself that's hurting you. It's the waiting, the constant delay. You keep thinking, I'll decide tomorrow, I'll act when I'm more certain, I'll move forward when I know enough. But tomorrow turns into weeks, and weeks into months. And the life you want to live is still on pause because you've been too afraid to press play. There's this invisible fear that whispers, if you get it wrong, it's all over. And so you hold on tightly to that decision, turning it over in your mind, hoping it will somehow become lighter, but instead it gets heavier. You may have noticed something. The more you overthink, the more your body feels it too. The headaches, the tension in your shoulders, the restless nights, the tired mornings. This is the physical toll of carrying mental weight that was never meant to be carried alone. It's like trying to walk with a backpack full of bricks, only to realize later that half of those bricks were just fears you imagined, outcomes you invented, and problems that never actually existed. And maybe no one sees how heavy it feels for you right now. On the outside, you might look calm, composed, in control. But inside, your mind is running a marathon it never signed up for. You wish someone could just tell you, it's going to be okay, you can let go now. And maybe that's why you're here listening, hoping to hear those words in a way that reaches your heart. So here they are. It's going to be okay. You can let go now. You don't have to keep living in this cycle. You don't have to keep spinning the same thoughts in your mind like a wheel that never stops. There's a way to release this burden, but it starts with one choice, the choice to not carry it all alone. You see, overthinking is often the mind's way of trying to protect you. It's not trying to ruin your life, it's trying to keep you safe. But the problem is, safety doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes what we think will protect us ends up trapping us instead. And right now, you might be trapped in the idea that if you just think a little harder, you'll let it right. But life isn't about always getting it right. It's about living, learning, and growing, even when things don't go as planned. So take a breath for just a moment. Imagine what it would feel like to not hold this weight anymore. Imagine trusting that the path will open up when it needs to, that you'll know enough when the moment comes, and that you don't have to have all the answers today. Doesn't that already feel a little lighter? Because here's the truth, when you stop overthinking every step, you give yourself the freedom to take the next one. And that next step might just be the one that changes everything. We often believe that if we could just control everything, life would be better. We think if I can manage every outcome, nothing can hurt me. If I can predict every twist, I'll never be caught off guard. It sounds logical until you try to live that way. You wake up each day calculating and planning, mapping out not just what you're going to do, but what everyone else might do too. You try to prepare for every scenario, every possible problem, every what if, and yet life still surprises you. Here's the thing about control. It's addictive. The more you have, the more you think you need. The more you plan, the more you believe that without planning, everything will fall apart. And little by little, your trust in the flow of life disappears. You stop seeing life as something to experience and start seeing it as something to manage, like a business project. Every decision becomes a transaction. Every outcome is either a success or a failure in your mental scorecard. But life isn't a business deal. It's not a perfectly balanced equation. It's a mix of the unexpected and the unseen. And no matter how hard you try, you can't control it all. Think about it. How many times have you planned something down to the smallest detail, only for it to turn out completely differently? Maybe you prepared for a conversation thinking it would go one way and then it went in the opposite direction. Maybe you saved up for something only to need that money for something else entirely. Maybe you thought you knew exactly where your career or your relationship was going, and then life interrupted your plans. In those moments, you probably felt frustrated, maybe even scared, because if you couldn't control that, what else might slip out of your hands? This is where the illusion comes in. The belief that we ever had full control in the first place. We didn't. We can influence. We can prepare. We can take steps. But control, complete, absolute control, that was never ours to hold. And if you've been overthinking every step of your life, it's probably because you're clinging to this illusion, the idea that if you can think through every possibility, you can control the outcome. But here's the problem. Life doesn't move according to our mental scripts. It unfolds in ways that are often messy, unpredictable, and beautifully imperfect. Sometimes the need for control comes from fear. Maybe you've been hurt before, blindsided by something you didn't see coming. Maybe you faced loss, disappointment, or betrayal, and you swore to yourself, never again. So you started building walls. You started trying to control not just your own actions, but the actions of the world around you. You thought, if I can just keep everything under my watch, nothing will go wrong. But here's the truth. Life will still happen. Things will still change. People will still surprise you, sometimes in ways you could never have predicted. And that's not always a bad thing. You see, control feels safe, but it's also heavy. When you carry it for too long, you become rigid, closed off, unable to flow with life's natural rhythm. You stop noticing opportunities that weren't in your plan. You stop appreciating moments that you didn't schedule. You even start fearing the very change that could be the best thing for you. It's like holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you relax your grip, you can actually feel it, enjoy it, and let it be. Letting go of control doesn't mean doing nothing. It doesn't mean being careless. It means doing your part with sincerity, with effort, and then allowing life to do its part too. Think of it like planting a seed. You can choose the right soil, give it water, make sure it gets sunlight, but you can't force it to grow. You can't pull at it to make it sprout faster. You can't control the exact day it will bloom. Your job is to nurture, the rest is not yours to control. When you truly understand this, something amazing happens. Your anxiety starts to fade. You stop feeling like you have to micromanage every detail. You start breathing more freely because you realize that even if things don't go exactly according to your plan, they can still turn out right, sometimes even better. Life isn't trying to work against you. It's trying to work with you. But you have to stop wrestling with it. So maybe the question isn't how can I control more? Maybe the question is how can I trust more? Because the truth is, control is often just fear in disguise. And when you replace fear with trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust that the next step will become clear when it needs to. You don't have to overthink every step anymore. I know letting go feels risky. I know it feels like stepping onto a bridge without checking every single plank. But what if, just once, you let go a little and found that the bridge still held you? What if life has been waiting for you to release your grip so it can finally surprise you with something better than you planned? There's something about the unknown that makes our hearts race. Not always in excitement, sometimes in fear. It's that space between where you are and where you're going. That moment when the ground feels unsteady and you can't quite see what's ahead. You're about to take a step, but what if it's the wrong one? What if the ground disappears beneath your feet? This is the moment most people freeze. Not because they lack ability, not because they're lazy, but because the uncertainty feels too big, too dark, too dangerous. The unknown can be many things. Maybe for you right now it's moving to a new city, starting a new job, beginning a relationship, ending one. Maybe it's a dream you've been quietly holding for years but never dared to chase, because what if you fail? It's natural to fear the unknown. Our minds are wired to seek comfort, to find safety in what's familiar. And when we can't see the full path ahead, our imagination starts filling in the blanks, and not always in the kindest way. We imagine the worst. We see disaster before we see possibility. We hear the voice in our head whisper, "Don't do it. Stay where you are. At least here you know what to expect." But here's the problem. Safe can also be suffocating. Yes, staying in the familiar might protect you from certain risks, but it also keeps you from certain growth. It stops you from discovering the parts of yourself that only come alive when you're faced with something new. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Were they moments when everything was predictable, or were they moments when you stepped into the unknown and discovered strength you didn't know you had? The truth is, the unknown is where life often hides its greatest gifts. It's where new opportunities live. It's where new connections are made. It's where your future self is waiting for you. But here's the challenge. You can't get those gifts without first walking through the uncertainty. And yes, it's scary. Yes, your mind will try to talk you out of it. Yes, you'll want to turn back to what feels comfortable. But remember this. Comfort zones are not life zones. You can be comfortable and still feel unfulfilled. You can know exactly what tomorrow will look like and still wake up wishing for something more. The fear of the unknown is really the fear of not being in control. It's the same fear we talked about in the last chapter, that desperate need to know how everything will turn out before you even take the first step. But life doesn't work that way. It never has. The path reveals itself as you walk it. The answers appear as you live them. The clarity comes after the courage, not before. I once heard someone describe life like driving at night. You can't see the entire road. You can only see as far as your headlights reach. But that's enough to get you to your destination, as long as you keep moving forward. The unknown works the same way. You don't need to see the entire journey right now. You just need to see the next step. And once you take it, the next one will come into view. Sometimes the fear of the unknown comes from past pain. Maybe you've taken risks before and they didn't work out. Maybe you've stepped into uncertainty before and it hurt. So now your mind is trying to protect you by avoiding that feeling again. But avoiding the unknown doesn't erase the pain. It only keeps you from discovering new joy. What if this time it works out? What if this time the leap you take leads to something far better than you ever imagined? What if the very thing you are afraid to step into is the thing that changes everything? The truth is, fear doesn't go away completely. You can't wait until you feel 100% confident, because that day may never come. You move with the fear. You take the step anyway. You remind yourself that you faced unknowns before, and somehow you made it through. You're still here. You survived. You learned. That's proof that you can do it again. So, how do you walk into the unknown without letting fear paralyze you? You start small. You take one step, not 10. You focus on what you can do today instead of trying to predict what you'll have to do next month. You remind yourself that no matter what happens, you will figure it out when you get there. Because you always have. You anchor yourself in the present moment. You breathe. You allow yourself to feel both the fear and the excitement, and you choose to move anyway. Because you know staying still will cost you more than moving forward ever could. Here's the thing. Fear isn't always a sign to stop. Sometimes it's a sign you're standing at the edge of something meaningful. It's your mind saying, pay attention. This matters. So instead of letting the unknown scare you into silence, let it invite you into possibility. Let it be a reminder that you're alive, that there are still chapters of your story waiting to be written. The unknown will always feel terrifying until it becomes familiar. And the only way it becomes familiar is by walking into it. You might not be able to control what's ahead, but you can control your willingness to take the step. You can control your decision to not let fear hold you back. And when you do, you may just find that the unknown isn't a dark, empty space after all, but a door that was waiting for you to open it. It's a word that can feel uncomfortable, even strange. Sometimes we hear it and immediately think, does this mean giving up? Does this mean I'm weak? But surrender is not weakness. It is not failure. Surrender is the quiet strength that comes when you stop trying to force life to bend to your will. It's the courage to let go of the heavy weight of needing to control every outcome and to trust that the next step will appear when it's meant to. You may be struggling with something right now, feeling like the harder you push, the more life resists. You overthink, you plan, you worry, and yet the answers don't seem to come. Every day feels like a battle, and every choice feels like a test. Surrender is what comes when you stop fighting against the flow of life and start working with it instead. It's the decision to release the tension in your mind, the tension in your heart, and even the tension in your body. It's giving yourself permission to breathe, to pause, to trust that you do not need to carry everything alone. Think about the moments in your life when things just seem to fall into place without you having to force them. Maybe it was a conversation that led to an opportunity, a relationship that appeared when you least expected it, or a solution that arrived after you stopped obsessing over the problem. Those moments are a reminder that life has a rhythm of its own. There is a flow that works in ways we cannot always see or understand. And when we surrender, we allow ourselves to move with that flow instead of fighting against it. Surrender does not mean stopping your effort. It does not mean giving up your dreams or your goals. It means putting your energy into what you can do and letting go of what you cannot control. It's like holding a kite. You grip the string, but you also allow the wind to lift it. You guide it, yes, but you don't try to control every twist and turn. You trust that the wind will do its part and you do yours. When you surrender, you stop overthinking. You stop asking yourself, what if this goes wrong? You stop imagining every possible disaster before it even happens. Instead, you start focusing on what matters right now. You may notice a calm settling in your chest, a lightness in your steps, a softness in your heart that you haven't felt in a long time. And that is the beauty of surrender. It doesn't take anything from you. In fact, it gives you something far more valuable, peace. Surrender allows you to live in the present. Overthinking pulls you into tomorrow or yesterday. It traps you in a constant loop of worry about what might happen or regret over what has already happened. But surrender anchors you here. It reminds you that today is enough, that this moment is enough, that you are enough. It's in this space that clarity often comes. Solutions arise, connections deepen, and doors open that you couldn't see while you were desperately holding on. Now let me share something that might resonate with you. There was a time when someone I care about deeply made a decision that I did not understand. My mind raced, trying to figure it out, trying to control the situation, trying to make it align with what I wanted. I lost sleep. I felt anxious and restless. Then slowly I learned to surrender. I stopped trying to manipulate the outcome. I stopped demanding that life happen the way I thought it should. And you know what happened? Life did not stop. Things did not collapse. In fact, over time, a new understanding, a new path, and even a deeper connection revealed themselves in ways I never could have orchestrated on my own. That's the paradox of surrender. It feels like letting go, but it is really about letting life in. It's about opening your heart to possibility rather than closing it out in fear. It's about trusting that even when you don't see the whole path, the next step will appear when you're ready. You may feel nervous about surrendering. That's normal. Because for so long you've relied on your own mind, your own plans, and your own control. Letting go can feel like stepping into the dark. But remember, even a small step into trust is more powerful than a lifetime spent clinging to fear. Surrender also allows you to forgive yourself and others. When you stop overthinking, when you stop trying to control everything, you begin to see mistakes as part of the journey rather than disasters. You start to understand that imperfection is not failure, it's growth. And when you forgive, you release a burden you may not even have realized you were carrying. The weight of resentment, regret, or worry lifts, leaving space for calm, hope, and joy. You may be asking yourself, how do I start surrendering? Start small. Choose one area of your life where you feel stuck or anxious. Take a deep breath. Decide to do your part, and then consciously let go of the rest. Tell yourself, I will do what I can, and I will let the rest unfold. Notice how it feels. Even a little release can bring a surprising amount of peace. And as you practice it, you'll find that surrender becomes a natural rhythm in your life. Life has a way of testing us, pushing us to hold on or to let go. And in those moments, surrender is not a weakness, it is your quiet, courageous strength. It is the choice to stop fighting against what you cannot control and to start moving with what is waiting for you. Have you ever planned a journey imagining exactly how it would go, only to find yourself taking a completely